So I haven't made a video on the Subaru in a hot minute. Actually, the only video I have on it is when I first bought it, but I thought I'd change that today. I only just got it on the road, which is why it's been so long. But one of the first things that I noticed that I really didn't like about the car was the audio quality. So in this video, we're gonna correct that. So I just want to preface this by saying I'm not some crazy sharp audio guy, so if I have some oversights or I mess some things up when I'm describing things, you're gonna have to forgive me. I just like to cruise down the road listening to my non-copyright tunes as one does and actually enjoy the music rather than thinking about how crappy the sound quality is. So I just need decent sound reproduction. That's all that I care about. And that's all that my goal is for this, and that's the goal of the majority of people, so hopefully this video might be helpful. We're going to start by listening to the sound system as it sounds right now, just to compare. I'm assuming it's going to be a pretty stark difference, so I'm looking forward to that. Alright, so I've got my phone hooked up to this 30-year-old aux port, and we're going to see how this sounds. Alright. Honestly, the only downside is I'm only getting sound from the front left speaker. I'm getting a little bit from over here, but it sounds seriously blown, and same with the rears. Yep. Alright. Let's pull this crap out. Alright, so the speakers I've chosen to install are these Infinity Reference REF-6532IX. There's also an REF-6532EX, which is a lower profile speaker. The audio quality is a little worse on those, so I went with these. You might need to do a little more customization to make these fit because they are a taller speaker. But Infinity is a Harman Kardon subsidiary, something type of deal. So basically the Harman Kardon speakers, sort of. And I chose them because they can run off of head units with a lower power, so I shouldn't really need like an amplifier or anything to push power to these and make them work. They come with these little brackets for mounting them to different areas, and that'll be useful because you'll see in a moment the way that the old speakers mount is slightly different than these. And the reasoning for that is because, if I pop this off of here, these speakers, the inner cone is actually larger than a lot of other speakers on the market, so they push a little bit more bass, but also it makes it so they mount a little bit differently, where these mounting holes are pushed outwards more because the cone is physically larger as a 6.5-inch speaker. So these will be important for mounting them in the old slots. So all you do to remove the rear speaker in a first generation Legacy is fold the rear seat forward, gently pry up around the edges of this plastic panel until you feel it pop up and off. Like so, and then this will pop right on out. And now there's two 10mm nuts that you have to remove. One on the front side right here, and then one on the rear right here. So we'll go ahead and loosen those. There we go. Take this one out. And then the front. And then we'll lift this up and out. Disconnect the connector. And our housing is out. So I just wanted you to get an idea of just how bad this factory speaker is. It's crumbling in my fingers. It is filthy. It is water damaged. I've never seen a paper speaker quite this bad. But to remove the old speaker from this housing, it looks like the screws are covered by this foam. So I'm just gonna peel this old foam out of here. And then it looks like 3 Phillips head screws. So I will unscrew those and be right back. All right. Of course they've glued themselves in place. There might also be adhesive in there. Might need to use heat to make that release. Or not, that'll work too. Just find a loose spot and it'll let loose. Ah, Finally, we are free from the old paper cone speakers. Garbage. So, now we have our new bracket here. I just want to check to see which holes end up being the mounting holes. There's these 4 little holes around the edge that the speaker mounts up to. These little guys, they have arrows pointing to them. Now, I guess we'll see which ones line up with the existing holes in the bracket, and we'll go from there. And there we go, we see that we have all 3 mounting holes lined up with this bracket, and then these little guys right here are what the speaker itself actually screws to. So we've got everything figured out, and then yeah, we should be able to just bolt the new speaker right in. So I wanted to make a quick revision to my plans. I ended up just using this bracket as a stencil to then drill out mounting holes in this bracket. Some of them are pushing the edge, but it'll be plenty to hold the speaker in. Not ideal, but totally functional. And the reason for me doing this is this extra bit of plastic is making it so the speaker itself won't fit. As I had mentioned before, it's a little bit taller of a speaker, and it's noticeably taller than the speaker that I pulled out. So hopefully not using this will make it fit in better, and yeah, this will work just fine. So now as far as wiring goes, this you can see is our connector here, and it's actually just 2 spade connectors. So I'm thinking I might be able to just pop this apart and use the existing spade connectors. So I'm just going to pop this apart here and this apart here. Looks like it's 2 little flaps that open up, and we should be able to pull our spade connectors out. All right, so now remembering that this is our negative, it goes to the smaller of the 2 spades. So I will connect that. So these spade connectors don't really fit properly. I'm gonna try one last thing really quick. Otherwise we'll just solder in new spade connectors. It's not a big deal. I'm just trying to do this as straightforward as possible with as few steps as possible. So I'll just squish that together a little bit, and I'll take this one, squish it together a little tiny bit, just to make it grab and connect a little bit better. We'll try this one more time. I know you're kind of blind on this. I apologize. It's just the way it's going to be. So that kind of slides on there, and the positive kind of slides on there. Much better. So this is what I've got going on back here. These are the 2 spades, and they fit on there perfectly. They are not going anywhere. All I did was squish them a little tiny bit with a pair of pliers, and they fit right on. So now it's just a matter of bolting this back into place, which is as easy as reinstalling these 2 nuts, front and rear. Throwing this cover on, which now fits properly. Pushing it down, and we're done. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side off camera, since it's just a duplicate of the other one, and I'll meet you when I'm ready to do the fronts. All right, so next up we're gonna go ahead and get started on the front door speakers. So it's just 1 Phillips screw removes this panel here. So it actually looks like, this is broken by the way already. It looks like I do actually have to take the door card off. So to remove the whole door card, I'm guessing there's a screw up in here that you get to by removing this chunk of foam. Yep, sure enough, there's a Phillips screw. Alrighty, now that's loose. Now there's a little panel right here that I'm gonna pop off. I'm assuming there's other mounting hardware behind it. There we go. And yep, there's 1 more Phillips screw in there. So these screws basically mount the handle top and bottom. Get that screw in there going. Alrighty, that's out. I guess we gotta pull these out. Around here there's clips around the edges, and there's more screws along the bottom of the door. And I'm gonna have to find a new one of these on eBay anyway. These little speaker grill panels. Alright, so that's all out of there. Give that a pull there. And that a pull there. Alright, seems like we're loose, but I guess we have to remove this trim panel too. Interesting. I don't think that was supposed to come out like that, but we'll have to glue that back in. I'm guessing this door handle surround is also going to need to come off of here. There it is. All right, now that that's out, should be able to remove this the rest of the way. And you want to be careful because you do have all the wiring for your window switches and stuff there. Just go back here and unclip that real quick, and there we go. And so, unlike the rear speakers, this one's actually intact, and this was the only speaker that actually sounded, I can't even say acceptable, but that made sound how it was supposed to out of all the speakers in this car. But we'll go ahead and remove it. It's a similar pattern to where it's just 3 screws around the outside. And before I remove this last one, I'm just going to go ahead and unplug the speaker up here. Now the only thing to note is you can see obviously the connector on the speaker side comes out up here and is actually a length of wire that runs up, and on our new speakers it's just little spade connectors on here that'll be inside the door. So I am going to have to make my own little harness that runs up and around, but that's no problem. I might even clip this wire and just solder some leads to it and go from there. So yeah, I'll get on that and be back when I have something to show you. Alright, so all I did was I desoldered this wire off of the original factory speaker and soldered it onto this one. So I should just be able to route this wire up through this little slot here and out, or maybe cut a little slot in this bracket. We'll see when we get there. So it actually doesn't appear that there are any holes that line up with this bracket, which is a bummer. So I'm gonna have to figure out something custom, or I guess the other option is just to send self-tappers straight into the door frame. Alright, so what I've decided is that I am in fact going to drill new holes into the door instead of trying to make my own bracket or something like that. And we will go ahead and just stick this into here with my Sharpie. I will attempt to line this up perfectly straight. That looks good there, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, now I will go ahead and drill. Now hopefully routing this wire will be as easy as just running straight through here. So I'm going to see if I can pull a little bit of slack out of this harness. That'll work. All I had to do is go around the other side of this. It's plenty loose. Once I readjust this plastic sheet, there won't be any tension on that wire at all. There we go. That is nice and mounted, nice and sturdy. I might reseal all of the parts that I tore on this plastic with some duct tape, just to keep all of the moisture that runs down the inside of the door outside of the car, and rather than humidifying the interior. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and install the same speaker on the other side, and I'm going to do that before reinstalling the door card. And the reason for that is there's this little adjustment here for the tweeters that can increase the gain by 3 decibels. Just to give you a little crisper top end when the speaker is down in the bottom of the door. I think I mentioned it earlier. But I'm going to test the speakers, listen to the radio, play with this adjustment, and see what sounds best to me, and set it to my preferences, and then throw the door card back on, seal it up, and then we're good to go. Alright, so I got the passenger speaker installed, and all the door cards are back in, so I'm ready to go ahead and try this thing out. Alrighty, keys in. We'll hit play, turn up the volume a little bit. Well, everything's working. I'm getting sound out of all the speakers. It sounds phenomenal compared to the original ones. I'd have to go back to back to a you know, superb sound system to really be able to judge these speakers, but I've given them a listen for a little while now, and they make a very nice even tone across the spectrum. When you have those little buttons pushed in, the treble can be a little bit sparkly, which might not be everyone's taste, and that's just for my application too. Again, it's going to depend where your speakers are located in your car and whatnot, so you're going to have to judge all that for yourself. But bass reproduction is excellent for a 6.5-inch speaker as far as I'm concerned. It's a punchy bass, but it's not a very, it's not gonna have that thump if that's what you're into. So you definitely want to pair it with like an underseat subwoofer if that's what you're looking for, a little extra bass there. But other than that, they sound great. I'm happy with it. I'm getting sound from all corners of the car, and it's gonna be perfect for cruising with the windows down. So, and hey, if you've made it this far in the video, feel free to subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. I'm trying to grow this thing, do a lot of BMW stuff, but there will be more Subaru related things in the future. I've got a whole lot of repairs that I'm working on right now on this car, and that'll come out in my next Subaru video. So stay tuned for that, and until then, I'll catch you next video.